Hi, thanks for joining me. Okay, what I'm going to do, explain to you, I'll give you a closer look. I just assume that everyone kind of knows how to stack these when you're getting ready to cut them. And I found out that that's not necessarily true. So what I normally do is, because these are shaped sort of concave, they're going all that direction, I usually put the fronts all facing one direction and the back of the leaf facing the other. So the back of the leaf is normally down, because when you get ready to roll it, it rolls better towards the inside or the front of the leaf, the darker greener part of the leaf. This is usually the back part of the leaf where you see the veins at, and then this part is usually the front part of the leaf, and that's any of the greens that you're going to do. So you can see the veins here, however on the back you can really see the entire makeup of them. And this vein, this main vein that runs down through the middle, pokes out more. On the inside of the leaf it's a little smoother towards the surface of the green itself. So I put all the fronts facing one direction, which is usually upward, and I try to put all the stems as close to stacking them on top of one another, and that way it rolls. This side, you can feel it when you're rolling it. It makes it easier to roll. This will roll in, and then you're on the other side, and this stem, you'll be able to get a better feel for it. So that's what I did. I'm stacking all the leaves, and I normally go from the largest leaf to the smallest one, and sometimes it's not always perfect. Like this leaf is a little bigger than that one, but it's okay. They don't all have to be flat. You see how this one had folded in some? I don't mind. I generally flatten them all out. They're usually flat enough if they're stiff. I like stiff greens. I don't buy the greens if they're wimpy and falling all over the place. So if a leaf is folded a little, it's okay. But I'm trying to stack, so I wouldn't stack it this way because this vein is going that way, and it would make it a little bit more difficult to roll them. So you try to get all of the veins and the stems in the same place each time. That one's much smaller. It's okay. They don't have to be perfect, but I want the stems all in the same, to end up right here in the same spot. And now you'll see what I mean. See, this one is backwards. That's the front of the leaf. So if I happen to do this where these got stacked really small here, from large to small, I'll just do another stack, and I'll go from large to small again. It just makes it easier. So if I want to be really particular about it, I'll take these little ones off here like this. That one's even smaller. I'll take these small ones off and stack them on this other pile like this, and then stack those there and these there. However, it doesn't matter. As you can see, some of them here are smaller than the other. The main thing is to get all of the stems going in the same direction. What happens if you keep the larger leaves together, you'll have less of these little stems in there. But once I cut it, all of these little short stems are going to fall off. So I'll show you what I mean, because I cut them small. Those short limb stems that don't have any green leafy matter attached, they're going to just fall out. So as you can see, this is a little thicker here than it is here, and it's okay. But I'm going to roll it to the center, and I'm pushing these stems downward and keep rolling it right past center, right on over to the other side, and pressing it down and holding it tight so that it's nice and tight. See that? They're all nice and tight. This one is a little looser because it has the stems there, but this is nice and tight, and I'm going to hold it here in the middle because I don't want it to unravel. The main thing is keeping it twisted up pretty tight, rolled kind of tight, so that when you cut it, you're firmly cutting through each leaf. Excuse me. So now I'm going to start here, holding this tight and making sure to move my fingers back so I don't cut my fingers off. Now I'm going to press this part of the leaf down here so it'll cut easier. And the first cuts aren't very much, but that's okay. And you just keep coming back. Depends on how wide you like your leaf. This direction. I like mine thin. but I'm holding this down. And once you get to the bulk of it, you don't really need to press hard, but keep holding this roll of leaves so it doesn't unravel while you cut. It makes it so much easier to cut. I'm gonna hold that so you can see how it was sort of compacted together. Get this out of the way and you'll be able to see it when it falls across on that. See how it's compacted together? It really is right in there. So it's really compacted together, which is fine. And those are the leaves, which is what I'll cook. And see how the stem just fell out? It only has a little small piece attached to it, but that the bright color tells you that was one of the small leaves. They will fall out. And you try to cut all the way across and make a nice clean cut. Otherwise you'll have some attached together. Now, when I cut them like this, they'll be long and stringy, almost like a spaghetti sometimes, but I don't mind. Those are all leaves, and you can see the stems are all lined up, which doesn't matter except for how easy it is for you to cut them. So let's continue on. As you get to this bottom part that has the most of the stems, this piece will feel really loose because a lot of stems are in here now. You're getting to the thicker part, so you'll have, sometimes you may have to re-pull this section right here around. So I'll have to lift it off and kind of press it around to make sure this wrap stays tight. I don't want it to be too loose. It makes it harder to cut. So let's see that. That's great. I'll go back out a little bit so you can see all of it. And I'm having to hold it here because this leaf, see these leaves on this side, they're coming up. So I will have to, again, sometimes I have to adjust it. Just keep adjusting it around. That will probably be good right there. Whatever's comfortable for you. Remember, keep moving your hand back. Pay attention before you start making that cut, please. You don't want to cut your fingers. And this is a small roll, so when you're doing larger size greens, it makes it easier. And now I'm just going to move my fingers back because I want to keep the cut thin. And if it gets too tedious, I'll just stop cutting and won't cut anymore because it looks like I ran out of most of the leaves. We don't want to make cuts in the finger. See these stems? A lot of the stems are there. So let's get these up, and I'll loosen them up here on the pile. So if there are any stems in there, they'll fall out. I don't want to clean the stems. I don't want all those stems in my dish. And if I pull this up like this and it has more stem on it than green, I'll just pop that green off and chunk the stem. The stems will cook down too. I just don't cook a lot of stems in my greenery. When we were little, my grandmother used to say that's where all the vitamins and nutrients are. I don't know, but as you can see, these are really, really choppy. And that's one thing I hate when you buy frozen broccoli. You have all these broccoli stalks in there and not the florets or the crowns of the broccoli. It's usually not in there. It's usually a bunch of stems. And so that's what you usually don't cook on the broccoli. And if I'm going to get a bunch of stems like that, I may as well just chop up the whole thing of broccoli myself. So anyway, I'm getting off subject. But that's how you do, and the stems will fall out and you're left with these gorgeous greeneries. So let's wash these and cook these. They're ready to wash and cook. And when I say wash, I do know people that use dish detergent, but I generally just use salt and water, cold water and salt. That salt brine usually help get the greens clean. If any sand or anything is on there and any bugs are in there, it tends to cause them to float on top. I don't want the bugs in there. But I have found very few bugs in my food that I get from County Line. That's why I love getting their produce. All right, let's get these cleaned and cooked. Thanks for joining me.